All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Colman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. So this show is going to be all about the likes of inflammation, because it is the root cause of all different illnesses that we come into problems with as we age. And as a result of that, we're looking to be healthier going long term. And as a result of that, I'll be going through, I suppose, what inflammation is, what causes it, and what inevitably are the foods that most certainly can improve that, as well as lifestyle changes and habits. I have no preference to people picking a diet, but I want people to understand food before they do such a thing. And because if you go towards picking a specific diet, there's restrictions involved. And on the Organic Fitness Program, when I mentor, coach, and come into contact with people, if you're just consuming this information on a regular basis, weekly podcast every Thursday, the point is that for you to understand that no food coming from a single ingredient is going to have a negative effect on your health, is a realization of sticking to single ingredient foods and finding foods that work for you, and talking about a little bit about our gut health, which is massively important for long-term health, as we're looking for in, I suppose, the day-to-day things that we do. So straight away, what is inflammation? Inflammation at a small and acute level can be spots, can be small redness in an area on your body. And it typically comes from excess amount of stress. And it can also be built up from toxins in your body, and trying to reduce and minimize those as much as you possibly can. And toxins such as added sugar is something I don't want people to consume in their diet. You can add in things such as nature's candy, fruit, one of my favorite things, but also a pet peeve of mine that people say that fat or fruit makes you fat. And as a result of that, it's getting people to restrict themselves further from foods that are what I recommend for people to not only for weight loss, but also for improved health, reduced inflammation, which is the main topic of this week's episode. So with, I suppose, those toxins, why I recommend, I suppose, local, and why I recommend organic produce is it doesn't contain harsh chemicals. Harsh chemicals such as a glyphosate. It is the active ingredient in Roundup that is sprayed on non-organic produce. So when you're going to a country market and you see things local or you see things organic, you can be sure yourself it has a logo on, as well as your stores you're going into, and it's registered with the Organic Trust, the USDA approved logos, the Soil Association, or any of the other governing bodies that have their logo imprinted on that product. You can be guaranteed that it does not contain those harsh chemicals. Why? Because it's forbidden in doing so. And they are regularly inspected, a minimum of once a year. So I suppose that's sure as hell of any to either buy organic produce or grow your own. But whatever you do, add it to your diet. It's key. Whole foods for the win. And going on then to what this type of inflammation does to the body, it's the idea that it can cause fatigue, which is very common in people that I mentor and coach. Why? Because a lot of people are lacking energy, and if you lack energy, it makes it very difficult for you to do any form of exercise, whether it be the minimum requirement, as I say, 10,000 steps, but even to be productive throughout your day. And there's so many different people that I've trained very recently that have, I suppose, been more productive in their work day, and as a result of have inevitably getting and got a raise. They didn't give me the money or the raise, but nonetheless, the fact that they got a raise as a result of their cognitive function be on point, and they've increased their energy levels from foods and lifestyle habits that they incorporated in. Also, joint pain is very common in individuals, and arthritis for people. And this is a main cause, an issue with the swelling and inflammation in the body. Other things that are a sure sign of inflammation would be asthma and eczema, both things that I had previously had myself personally and have completely eradicated. I have no more, I have very clear skin right now as a result of that eczema, which I have on the back of my hands and the backs of my legs, scratching, and literally nearly to the only relief of either cold water with ice cubes to, I suppose, cool that down. But there is a hell of a lot of other things you can do, which we'll be talking about is in the food items to reduce the likes of this inflammation that is causing distress in you and countless other people. So other things such as depression and diabetes can all be linked with the likes of inflammation. So if you suffer from any of those or would like relief or would like to prevent, because there's so many different medications out there right now that people, and doctors inclusive, will give you that will, I suppose, prevent the symptoms, but I want to get back to the likes of the problem. What is the root cause? And it's all down to your gut. The foods that you are currently eating are putting yourself in inflammation, putting yourself under stress, along with the excess amount of toxins from either BPAs and plastics that you're currently drinking out of, plastic bottles, plastic wrapped fruits and vegetables. So if you can get food that is chemical free and it doesn't have necessarily need to have a plastic wrapping from head to toe, you are reducing the likelihood of inflammation occurring in your body, because inflammation can prevent you from losing weight. And that's, I suppose, where most people's fitness goal is at, is looking for, I suppose, an overall improvement on body composition so that you can feel your best, drop down a dress size, be healthier overall. And when you are healthier, inevitably you will, I suppose, look a lot better and be more confident in it. And as a result of that, so just as we've mentioned, like the causes of inflammation, I want to now go over and switch on to the likes of foods that can most certainly be added to your diet to improve and reduce down inflammation. So tomatoes, they are pretty much they're one of my favorite vegetables. We're sowing them right now in February in Ireland, right? And I sow mine typically on Valentine's Day. Will this be coming up before Valentine's Day? I'm sure it will. It will, inevitably. So you will, on either YouTube, if you're watching it, there will be a video on how to sow your own tomatoes. If you haven't seen those, also do those on TikTok. So sowing tomato seeds and sowing them now is what has to be done, whether you're growing a little bit of your own or trying to realize why they're not actually in season. But the only way you can actually get organic tomatoes that would be recommended for myself right now would be that if you grew them last year and you froze the serious amount of them when they were in a glut, because that's what happens. You grow, and I will be doing mentoring with people at their houses, and as I was doing talks at courses such as the retreat coming up on in Cork. There's two. There's one that I'm hosting myself with 3 other members. But Cara O'Donnell, you have Kaz, the yoga teacher, Cara is the nutritionist, and you then have Joe Maloney, who is the personal development coach. Those retreats are unreal, and they will most certainly be having these foods. We'll be talking about all things health, nutrition, mindset, positivity going forward for people to connect with like-minded people. So that is something that's happening very, very soon. And that is on the end of March. But there's one even before that I will be doing. I'll be a guest speaker at, and there will be exercise involved on the 4th down in Inishbeg. That is West Cork, and the other one is in Ballycotton. So, as I was saying, I'm getting back to the foods that I recommend for you to reduce inflammation in your diet. Okay, so tomatoes, they are high in antioxidants called lycopene, and to increase the absorption of lycopene, it is important to have a healthy fat with them. So the healthy fat could be nuts or seeds, or most certainly could be cooking oil, and then you gain the advantage of reduced inflammation. All different types of antioxidants reduce inflammation because they neutralize free radicals. So a lot of people will be talking about these big fancy ass words, and it can be difficult for people to understand. So antioxidants, these are the good guys. This is Pac-Man. Take the example. Everyone knows who Pac-Man is. It's typically this guy who comes along and he eats those little small modules that come up as he moves across the board. So Pac-Man, he's the good guy. These little lads, the balls that Pac-Man and everybody ends up consuming are the free radicals. He neutralizes that. He literally puts water on it and cools it down, reduces down the swelling. So that is going to be beneficial towards yourself, understanding that the more whole foods that you eat. Why? Because antioxidants are found in the likes of every different fruit and vegetable. That is most certainly important for you to remember, that when you get things organically, that you take out the toxins. There are no toxins related to the likes of those foods that are produced without being sprayed head to toe, and tomatoes being listed on the foods of fruits and vegetables that are heavily sprayed throughout their life cycle, because they have a long growing season. They start in February and you're not harvesting those crops of tomatoes until July, maybe June if you're lucky. But the fact is that there's a long period before that for different pests and diseases to occur. So hedging your bets on large scale farms, they typically end up spraying them. So going to a small grower, growing your own is always what I've been recommending, and I continue to recommend it. Why? Because there are more people gaining an advantage of these things in their day and in their diet. And tomatoes being on the top of the list right there, right now. And as last night, I took out some from the freezer. So coming into February, still have organic tomatoes that I grew myself, and you can too. This year, 2022. Good old year and good old way to start your new healthy lifestyle, not a diet. So next one is extra virgin olive oil. This is my favorite cooking oil. Okay, cooking at medium to low heat. Again, these are the antioxidants that come from olives. It also has a healthy fat that will increase and could be used with, in addition to cooking your tomatoes or drizzling over. And a lot of people say, oh, come on, but I thought you were recommended only to, I suppose, use higher cooking oils such as coconut oil for cooking with. Just remember the fact that I mentioned low to medium heat. Smoke point is very important as well. Why? Because that is going to cause negative effects on the food items that you are cooking in your pan. I'm such a man. I'm a one-pan man who cooks food in less than 15 minutes, typically 10 and sometimes 8. Foods that are healthy, are balanced, and are exactly what you need, that are high in antioxidants, high protein, high fiber, and most certainly high antioxidants that reduce inflammation, increase your energy levels, and what I recommend for people who are looking to lose weight as a result of being happier and healthier eating these foods, because extra virgin olive oil is something especially organic. Why? Because again, it is one of the foods listed on that Dirty Dozen. I'm definitely going to be putting this post up, and in relation to consuming more food on the list of Dirty Dozen and as opposed to the Clean 15. Avocados would be the other end of the spectrum, because we typically don't eat the skin. Bananas, and also another food item that people go, Colman, I'm buying organic, you're buying bananas. Why? Typically because it's the price range. They're very there's a major difference. There isn't a major difference in bananas, organic or non-organic, and that's another reason that you don't typically eat the skin. So if they are sprayed, and typically in the poor countries such as Africa where they are produced, or South America, they're not even sprayed at all. Why? Because they don't have the money. And that's what actually used to happen in Ireland, and before these large synthetic fertilizer companies decided to mass produce fertilizers that give nutrients to the soil, to the plants, but not to the soil. That's a point worth reiterating. The fact that these synthetic fertilizers give nutrients to the plant, but not the soil. And healthy soil produces healthy plants long term. And that's what I'm trying to get people to realize, that we cannot continue to grow cheap food, quote unquote cheap food, and give it to yourselves, your children, your family members, and expect to be healthy, because that isn't the food that is ever recommended by myself, and it's not solving the problem. In fact, it's actually causing more problems in our own healthcare systems, wherever you're located in America. Huge amount of listeners over there in Ireland and Australia. I know there's people in the UK too. Shout out to you lads. And everywhere else in Europe. I don't want to leave anybody out. And Russia, if there's someone there. The next of items, dark leafy greens. Dark leafy greens, again, being high in most certainly the antioxidant chlorophyll, and consuming those foods with your tomatoes. And eggs is another one, a surebred winner that I want people to add in. Eggs are nature's multivitamin. They have and do contain the anti-inflammatory, beneficial, healthy fat, omega-3. Most people are not consuming enough omega-3 in their diet. Omega-3 found in extra virgin olive oil will also reduce inflammation. That's why it's in the food listed here. Then you're adding in food from the likes of your walnuts, which are a great source of omega-3 healthy fats. These and anti-inflammatory food properties are needed to be consumed every single day. So whether you're having extra virgin olive oil, you're having eggs, you're having the likes of walnuts that are great, and another nut or seed, hemp seeds are great too. Why? Because they are complete protein as well as that, because people are not consuming this in that order. Enough protein foods, they're not consuming enough healthy fats, and they're certainly not consuming enough organic produce. And all, I suppose, pointing down towards that exact point, the realization that organic food has higher omega-3 than conventional. And how is this, and where are we getting this information from? It's been peer-reviewed documents made up, and because it's from nutrition, comes from the soil, and what's growing in the soil, organic produce. Okay, hydroponics in Ireland, this is specific to, must be grown in the soil for it to be fully registered. And in other countries, that's not the case. So Ireland and Europe has a high percentage of their produce being higher in omega-3, and that's why I suppose that I recommend these type of foods to people to reduce inflammation in your diet. Okay, next one we're going up at fish bash. We're not a million miles away from the likes of, I'm grabbing it, fish. So fish is a complete protein. As well as that, oily fish that I do recommend are sardines that contain vitamin D and omega-3, that anti-inflammatory property. So winning on a Wednesday, these are the latest of the food items from Shines, which I am ambassador for 2022. I'm a major believer in eating foods and food, suppose, containing every vitamin and mineral you can ever need, and then getting, suppose, foods that suit you and your specific way of eating. Sardines, as I said, vitamin D. Vitamin D is good for your immune system. As well as that, it's something that people should be consuming more of in whole food form. They're also found in eggs, and it's the healthy fat omega-3 that I said, and we must consume from our diet every single day. So if you're looking to, I suppose, get healthier, reduce inflammation, and have a complete protein source, you're getting literally with this exact one here. We have sardines in extra virgin olive oil. You're getting 2 of the listed food items that I have right here down in front of me that I recommend to reduce inflammation and help with, suppose, your weight loss goals. Next of which most certainly is berries. Berries, again, not exactly in season. The only fruit that's actually available right now that's in season is yacon. Yacon is that supernatural prebiotic, which is good for your gut health, which will also help reduce inflammation too. Berries that I currently have, again, that I will be recommending as I do in September. Go round. This is 100% free. You will clock up steps. You will get and gain the advantage of picking black berries from the ditches. It's a surebred winner for freezing in on trays and putting them into containers then that you can gain advantage of in your smoothies, in your breakfasts, overnight oats with flavins. Again, just get them organic, lads. I cannot highly recommend it enough to consume. Definitely switch up. Cheapest thing you possibly do. Go from non-organic oats to organic oats. It's really important, and they're a complex carbohydrate that I do recommend too. And going on then to other items, the final of which is probiotic foods. Probiotic foods really do, I suppose, help with the improvement of gut lining. So those items that I was mentioned previously that cause swelling is typically down to an autoimmune disease, but that is an issue with your gut. So if you are looking to improve your gut lining, which I do recommend people to, because that is a sure way of improving your overall health, having and consuming probiotic foods. So you can have kefir, which can be found in water, or you can have dairy kefir, then typically from grass-fed animals. I highly recommend as well. You can have coconut fermented probiotics, and again, these items will be often recommended and as a supplement. Why? Because people make money off supplements and not single ingredient whole foods. And another one I'm a major believer in making your own is sauerkraut and kimchi. Okay, sauerkraut is just fermented cabbage, and that is something that I make, and I have videos up on YouTube. People also want to look how to make your own sauerkraut, and I currently have a batch that I'm making right now. It has onions, garlic, leeks, which are prebiotics, which are good for your gut health. They're high in antioxidants, and also then you have salt. It's really water, salt, and vegetables in a glass jar that is sealed, and put a cloth over it. And as a result of that, after a number of weeks, you can then use that as your own homemade single ingredient. I used organic produce, so it's an organic probiotic, and I forgot the word. Probiotic that you can add in with meals that aids in digestion, which is really important as well, because that reduces bloating. All these things have, like, not only just adding in one of these food items to your diet to reduce inflammation, it also has a knock-on effect to other areas of life. So doing one thing can most certainly benefit another. And I love that, I suppose, the ethos of that. Do one thing has a knock-on effect to other areas of your health. And then I suppose things that I'm also going to recommend that will do you a world of good is the likes of things that reduce inflammation. I have 4 things I've written down here. The likes of, okay, grounding. And that is, I suppose, a way of, again, neutralizing free radicals, reducing stress on the body. A lot of us right now are on the verge of chronic inflammation, but yet we don't even know it. We have low energy levels. As a result of that, we're having poor sleep. And both of those things, and sleeping, one of the pillars of health, I highly recommend you to tune into your foods that really, and your lifestyle habits that really help you, I suppose, live a healthier lifestyle. And things such as I said, to reduce inflammation, would certainly be grounding. Grounding can be done literally walking on a beach if you can't get to a beach, I recommend you to now coming into, I'm going to call it quote unquote warmer, because it was cold during the winter, but it's getting warmer, to do these activities such as grounding. That is a way of touching your bare feet and bare skin from the likes of your palms off the likes of the soil, the sand, the grass, or anywhere, or leaves, or opportunity for yourself to reduce this inflammation in your body. And I also incorporate those into the retreats that I do and the events that I go to, because it's something that we used to do as children, and we've completely come away from that. We now live in a world that we go from a warm bed to the coffee-filled cup that ends up in the car that we drive to work in, I suppose, a comforted, air-conditioned, or else cooled and kept at a regular temperature, that we come back into the house, and again, we're causing ourselves then to eat food on the go. And as a result of that, it's typically high sugar, highly processed foods that cause inflammation in the first place. Then we go back into the bed, which we turn on the electric blanket, and the whole house is heated again, which is, I suppose, something that you don't want. You have to get the body to, I suppose, have the ups and the downs, which is exactly what I'm recommending. And through grounding, you can most certainly reduce that inflammation, because all those things, excess heat leads to inflammation. And that is my point of using, I suppose, yourself to be cooled down with the likes of grounding. Cold water exposure is something that can also be done, and whether it's in the shower or it's in the sea. And this is a way of reducing inflammation. And then those things such as the grounding and this cold water exposure, and if you combine it with stretching as well, really do improve on your, I suppose, sleep. Sleep is key. If you're not sleeping a recommended 8 hours a night, you are, I suppose, missing one of the pillars of health, because sleep regulates your hunger hormones, and hunger hormones being elevated due to poor sleep, it'll most certainly lead to poor food choices. And we typically don't really lean towards, oh, I'm going craving broccoli, because it's highly processed foods that again will lead to, I suppose, inflammation. The idea that you need to focus in on all the areas of your health is important right now, because going forward, most people that I come into contact with, and listeners of this show, want to improve every area of the fitness, every area of the health. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people and connect them back with doing the simple things on a more regular basis. And exercise has to be part of your lifestyle. And when you exercise on a regular basis, that is something that is going to, I suppose, tire your muscles out, and it'll be improve on your sleep. And when you exercise, you're much more ready to make these healthy food choices, to consume the likes of, I'm going to list them out again: tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, dark leafy greens that are in season. You have kale, you have rocket, you have arugula, mincuna, tatsoi, endive, you have cabbages, cold loving plants. That's why, I suppose, these foods are most certainly in season now, because foods are in season for a reason. Dark leafy greens, for that matter. Why? Because they're high in antioxidants, and a lot of us, I suppose, need to reduce down inflammation in our body, and nature provides. But the thing is, you have to go out there and get it. I recommend single ingredient foods. I recommend you cook from scratch. I recommend you ground, you stretch, you do the things that improve your sleep, that reduce inflammation. Because if you continue to do, I suppose, the things you currently have been doing for the past number of weeks, years, months, you will continue to keep getting what you're getting. It's the realization, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And those are just simple quotes that come to mind, and you have to want to change, because information is one thing, but putting it into practice is another. And I suppose one of my goals of 2022 is to connect with as many people as I possibly can, to, I suppose, get them to eat better. And when you eat better, you feel better. When you feel better, you're much more likely to exercise. And that's my ethos. And I suppose I'll finish up this podcast by just reiterating the fact that I'll be doing things and events coming in 2022 that you can either come to, you can join, or you can just continue to listen to the free content that I put out every single day on Instagram. I'm also now on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok every single day. I'm on lives there on a regular basis. There's YouTubes that go out with meals, with foods, with, I suppose, ways of you growing a little bit of your own, because that's, and the Organic Fitness program either gets people to go to country markets to shop for these single ingredient foods to improve their diet. Because once you improve your diet, because you cannot outtrain a bad diet, that's the first point of which, and food affects your mood. Okay, if you want improved serotonin, you need to focus in on your gut health. Okay, we've touched massively on inflammation on this podcast, and you remember the likes of tomatoes, olive oil, extra virgin. Make sure you get that organic. You have dark leafy greens, you have walnuts, you have fish, you have berries, you have pre and probiotics that all reduce inflammation that you don't want in excessive amounts in your body. And the next event that I have on that you can attend or come to is on the 4th of March. And it is down in Inishbeg. It is down in Cork. There is a weekend away like no other. Healthy foods. I will most certainly be bringing the greens, the good stuff will be there. And if you are available for that weekend, I highly recommend you to either send me a message or contact Lorna, who is most certainly hosting the event. I would love to see you there. And there will be exercise. There will be most certainly a massive talk on nutrition, trying to get people to again improve their foods that they eat on a regular basis for themselves, their family, and everyone else that they either go to. And it's all about eating the foods that benefit you. And I suppose after that, then I just want to say the likes of if you are looking for, I suppose, the discount code for Shines, any of those products, and buy online, use Power25. That's POWER. I'm just going to say something might pop down here. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be POWER 25. That's 20% discount on their product. It's high quality fish food that you can consume, which is high in omega-3, which is a complete protein to add to meals. It's making healthy foods and meals quick and easy. So all you need is greens. Then all you need is maybe a slice of sourdough bread. You can bish bash bash on bit of healthy fat, extra virgin olive oil on that, or you can go with butter. Make sure it's grass fed, and you can pre-protein source. Winning on a Wednesday, or actually a Thursday if you listen to this directly as soon as it does come out. Other than that, I suppose I'll finish off this podcast by saying, get out, listening to this podcast, get out there, be active, get in an old Szechuan, a bit of a workout, and other than that, stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.